Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Edith and I like to read books and yap about them to you guys. And today's video is going to be very, very exciting. You're going to see this at the end of April. It's currently like the beginning of April, and that is because in today's video we're reading some of my most anticipated 2025 releases, and I will in fact just be filming all over the span of time it takes for these books to come out and me to read them. So this will specifically be a bunch of April releases, because April is a big release month. I'm not going to say which books it's going to be, you're just going to have to wait and see longer into the video. The first book, however, actually came out in February, and I got it in February, and then I didn't want to start filming this video yet, so I took a break, filmed my last video instead, and now we're here, and we are ready to read Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which, if you don't know, is the new Hunger Games book. It is a prequel, but as far as I've heard, it's very good if you've at least watched the movies but read the other books first. And I read them, so I read Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, then the Songbirds and Snakes one, and now this one. So I have read all the other ones. I've also watched all the movies, and I am so excited for this to become a movie. I love Haymitch. He's the guy who guides Katniss and Peeta, which are in the other Hunger Games books, through the Hunger Games, which is this thing where every year a boy and a girl between the ages of 12 to 18 are picked from each of 12 districts to fight for their lives, for entertainment, for the capital. So it's very honestly, it's kind of scary how believable it is that that could happen in our near future, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to get into the entire political stance of this, because I know some people don't care, some people would disagree hardly with me, and that's whatever. The point is, I'm going to be reading this, and I I will try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. Maybe I'll do a spoiler section at the end of it, because I know a lot of people are going to be reading this and would maybe like some more in-depth thoughts. I will be keeping most of this reading vlog spoiler free. If I talk about spoilers, I will be clear about where it starts and when it ends. So this is in fact when I'm going to be starting with this video. I read the first 4 pages this morning before I decided to get ready and start the video. So without further ado, let's just get into reading some of my most anticipated releases of this year. Just wanted to track this. 76 pages in. First time crying. First time actually crying. I've been close to it a couple times. I can already feel this is gonna wreck me. Alright, every single book, I'm like, oh, President Snow can't get any worse, and then he does something to make himself even worse. So far I feel like I've gotten not a lot of B-roll and a lot of me talking, but we're gonna do that anyway. I just started part 2, which is called The Rascal, and I can't say anything other than the fact that President Snow just reminded me how absolutely foul and disgusting of a human being he is. Even in his own book. I know some people were like, oh, he was charming. He was not charming. If you read The Songbirds and Snakes and you were one of the people who were turned over and kind of started to like Snow, don't talk to me. Because no, he wasn't charming. He was just as much of an asshole back then as he is now. He just shows it a lot more now. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't pretend to be charming. He's just an ass. But I don't have that many more thoughts so far, other than the ones I already said yesterday. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm still really loving it. And I can still feel the heartbreak coming. I'm 35% into it, and I'm gonna read a little bit more now until I get too tired to do it, and then we're gonna pick it back up again tomorrow. Alright, I have a little bit over 50 pages left, which means I'm about to finish this. Or that's at least my plan, is to finish it now in one sitting before dinner. And I thought I'd do like a little time lapse, so like the next 30 seconds or something is gonna be me finishing this book. I don't know if I'm gonna cry. I have cried at some scenes, but I feel like we just got to a moment I could have cried. But also, I have no idea what's gonna happen in these last 50 pages, and people have said that it's really sad. And so far it has been really sad. Like, I've cried so much already, but I'm so scared for what the last 50 pages are gonna get me. So I thought, at least if you guys are there, even in just a time lapse, I'm not crying alone. So I just wanted to do that final update, and then I will of course like come up with my final thoughts and tell you guys about the next book once I have finished this. Also, why am I kind of really enjoying reading a hardcover? Just like a little extra thought. And also, I do in fact have my drapes down because the sun has been up all day and my room is like a, I don't know what the word for it is in English, but it's like it gets so hot from the least bit of sun. So I've gotten into the habit of draping them down if I want to lay in my bed before the sun goes down. So that was a lot of yapping just to say I will do a little time lapse of me finishing this, possibly crying my eyes out, and then we will regroup afterwards. Alright, it took me about an hour, but I'm done. And I know it's not like visible on my face, but I did cry. I cried in like the video, the final part of the video, so like the final 30 pages or something, really got me going. And then the minute I finished the book, which means after the video was done filming, it was like it all just hit me and I had like a big cry for like not that long, 30 seconds or something, but I feel like it all got out very fast. I will, oh, should I use the last light and do like a final thoughts right now? I think we have to, even though that doesn't give me that much time, but I know, yeah. Okay, we're officially back where we started to finish this one off. Like I said, I just finished it, which does mean I read the last half today and it took me 3 days to finish. 3 days with other plans. This went by way too fast. Like, I genuinely think if I had had 1 day without any plans, I could have finished it in one sitting. I need the dust cover. Wow. Alright, this is so much better. Okay. I feel like it's so hard to say anything. First of all, the references in this, every single time something looked back on one of the, every single time this looked back on one of the other characters or anybody from the previous books, movies entered the scene, I was a mess. I will tell you that much. most of the reason why this hit so hard is because of what I feel like we know from what technically is the future, but the past books. And I'll get more into that in the spoiler section, because there will be a spoiler section. I need to talk about some other stuff with this too. But spoiler free, this is 100% a 5-star read. A 5-star read, if not more. This is wow. Now I am a big Hunger Games fan. I the thing I remember with the Hunger Games movies is I watched them, remembered them being okay, and then once I got older, I rewatched them, loved them, got the books, read the books, loved the books. And then I also read like The Songbirds and Snakes and watched that movie afterwards and loved both of those. So, I didn't start out being a big fan, but I feel like growing older and seeing more of it in the real world definitely made me love it even more. I don't think I can say much more without spoilers, just know this was great. And while it is a prequel, I would definitely recommend reading them in like the published order. So the first original 3 Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then this one. But I'm gonna talk spoilers for like a very short amount of time. I just need to say a few little things. So if you haven't read the book yet or don't want any kind of spoilers, skip to the time. I'm gonna write it somewhere, probably just like down here or something, or down here. I can never figure out which way it's gonna look, but in a corner, someplace, it will say a timestamp. If you want no spoilers, skip. Are you gone? All right. For the ones left, if there are any left, I probably cried the most. Well, obviously, like the end with his parents and the love of his life and everything. But I also feel like we kind of saw that coming. I mean, actually, I kind of thought Lenora, is that how you say it, would get out alive. But I was also like, doesn't seem very Snow to let one person get out alive. And obviously, we know that Haymitch has nobody, like later on. And obviously, I get now why. Even before this, I knew exactly why Haymitch was an alcoholic. But this just. I've always loved Haymitch's character, even when he was a drunk in the first Hunger Games movie. And this just ignited an extra amount of love. But other than his parents, I think the other place I cried the most was definitely when the little kid died. I don't remember what his name is, but Beatty's son. Because we know Beatty, we kind of like Beatty, or at least I do, and knowing that this also happened to him, because we don't hear any of that in the other ones. Obviously, she probably just came up with it now for this one, but like the fact that Beatty was chosen for the Hunger Games, went in, fought for his life, got out alive, but was then forced to watch his own son go into the Hunger Games and get that brutally killed, even though it's like the one thing he like tried to get Haymitch to promise him he would just like help him if it came down to that for it to happen quickly. Obviously, Haymitch couldn't do that. Just for him to then, what, 25 years later, get picked back in to go through the Hunger Games again. Luckily, he came out alive, but like, no wonder our guy ended up being a little bit crazy and in a wheelchair. Also, knowing the fact that this is what led to Wires becoming like crazy because they probably tortured her, and Max becoming like needing a wheelchair and everything. Yeah. And then of course the entire idea of Haymitch coming back after all of this to find his mom and little brother being burned alive. And then you think it's kind of over and he reunites with Leonore, and I'm like, maybe they will run away, even though of course we know they won't because of like the next books. And yet I had hope, and then she ate the pearly drops things, and it wasn't it wasn't until they realized it that I was like, yeah, okay, she's dying. But and then like the epilogue, normally I'm not a big epilogue person, but seeing like that was all I'd hoped for. Like a little snippet of him with Katniss and hearing the fact that that's why he called Katniss sweetheart. Because he reminded him of, I can't say these names. Not Lulu, but the real girl. Which also, that was sick. I felt so bad for Lulu. Like, she was just this girl from 11 who was taken and then tortured into thinking she was someone else. Absolutely not. But I think that's all for the spoilers for now. Welcome back. If you skipped to here, like I said, this is a 5-star read, and I will forever cherish the fact that I have this very beautiful copy of it. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to read any more today because I feel like I need to digest all of that. But I will see you all tomorrow with our next book, which I'm also very excited for. Alright, so you guys have probably already figured out or seen what the next book is, since I started it earlier today and I've been reading it and I've been filming a little bit of B-roll and stuff like that. It is in fact Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is also, weirdly enough, my only physical copy of Abby Jimenez, but I read Truly Yours and Just for the Summer on my Kindle last summer and loved both of them. Loved them so much. And so I am super excited about this. Like I said, I've been reading a very little bit today. I went to the zoo where I didn't read anything, and then I went to the library and read a little bit. So I'm only 48 pages into it. But so far, I can already feel the vibes. First of all, so summery. I mean, just like look at the cover. I've been so excited about this, and even though I'm not reading it on like the release day, I still feel like I'm reading it early enough to be in on all the hype about it, which is really what's amazing about new releases and being up to date with my reading to the point where I can join people in reading new releases. So, this is the new book. If you don't know what it's about Xavier and I don't remember what the female main Samantha. Xavier and Samantha. Xavier is a like animal vet, a veterinarian. Yeah, he's a vet. And he's kind of like grumpy, but in like a nice way. It's kind of hard to explain. Anyway, Samantha finds this little kitten and shows up to his practice to ask for like a check over to see if it's okay. And he actually figures out that it's not okay. And he's like, I would recommend you put it down. But she's like, I refuse to put it down. They have this big argument because he's annoyed at something that happened earlier. And then she kind of leaves feeling like he's an asshole. But then, like, not even a few days later, he apologizes and they agree to go on a date. But they agree the day before she has to leave to go home to take care of her mother. And so that's like what I've read so far. And like they're in the middle of the date right now. Because then I guess she has to leave and she's gonna be like, we should just remember this night for being the perfect date that it is. And then my guess is that he can't let it go. And I know it's gonna be heartbreaking. I've already been about like close to crying the first 50 pages into it. So I'm about 73 pages in, and I've already felt like crying twice. Unfortunately, a lot of the content warnings in this is hitting a little bit too close to home, in like a good way. Like, I think I will love the aspects of it. I'm so prepared to cry. But it is going by really fast. I think I was on like page 13 or something when I started, and I feel like I started like 20 minutes ago or something, which I would say is pretty well. I don't believe that. That's what Fable said, so maybe I forgot to like update it at some point yesterday. But I just picked this up. It's the next day. I took a shower. I had kind of a bad morning with a headache and bad mood and stuff, and then I got myself together. Went down to our private gym in the building and did a little run sprint on a treadmill plus an ab workout, and now I'm sitting here and reading. And I'm gonna try to just read as much as I can for the rest of the day. It is almost 4 p.m. Wow. This day got away from me. But like it's okay, you know? Lately I feel like I just have to learn to accept the fact that sometimes I have bad days. So we're gonna read this for as long as I can before I start getting hungry, and then we're gonna maybe read more after dinner too. So far though, loving this. Like I said, have already almost cried 2 times. I am already connected to both characters. And it's already been kind of heartbreaking, you can imagine. And I am interested in seeing where she takes it from here. Like there's some different like ways she could spin this. And it could go really like badly, but I have faith in Abby Jimenez. So, I'm gonna read as much as possible today. Okay, so I am in fact at my mom's place, which means I didn't bring the book, but I still want to give my finishing thoughts now. So, as you saw, I finished Say You'll Remember Me. It's me, right? Say You'll Remember Me. This morning, or like this, well, yeah, morning. I think it was like 12 or something, which means that I read like half the book in the first half of the day, which just proves to me that if I'd had no other plans, I could have binged 2 books in 2 days, because both of the books in this video was so bingeable. And I did in fact end up on another 5-star. That's the only thing about videos like this is the chances of me rating all of these books 5 stars is so high. So high. Because for me, some authors, I go into them being like, yeah, this needs to be a 5-star read. And I will maybe ignore some small stuff that I wouldn't ignore with other authors, which I know, that's so mean, so mean. But that's just unfortunately the way it is. That does not mean that I wouldn't be honest. Like, if there's a bunch of stuff about the book I didn't like, I would, of course, still say that. But with that said, this was in fact a 5-star read. I'm not going to get too much into it because even Abby Jimenez herself was like, don't read these trigger warnings if you don't. I don't know why I did that. It is actually trigger warnings. If you don't want to know anything about them, don't read those. So I don't want to mention anything for that. But the characters in this book, absolutely amazing. You saw me talk about the fact that I was falling in love with Xavier. I don't know if I want to say I related to Samantha, because like I couldn't tell you in which ways I related to her, but I really enjoyed her as a character. If you are the type who doesn't like Gen Z language and jokes and more like modern setting, like if you don't like the mention of TikTok and Instagram and social media, you won't like this one, because Samantha, our female main character, is literally a like social media manager for a company, a mustard company, which was so hilarious. But I loved all the characters, also the side characters, the plot, not even the romance plot, which was also really interesting done. Like it's this right person, wrong time, right person, wrong time, right person, wrong time, and finally I'm not gonna finish that thought because I just realized I could also be kind of a spoiler. But even the non-romance side plots going on for each of the characters meant so much personally to me. Mostly hers, but I feel like his was also so great to hear about. Hers was just more personal to me to hear about. So, Abby Jimenez writing, she had me laughing and then crying a second later. I cried every 20 pages. The ending, not like the ending, but like the last part of the book right before like the epilogue and stuff, had me bawling my eyes out. That's how I spent this morning, bawling my eyes out. So, I'm gonna leave it at that for now. I don't think I'm gonna do a spoiler section for this one. Don't know why. I don't think I have that many extra thoughts that needs spoilers. If that makes any sense. I would definitely recommend them. Also, I'm gonna leave you guys for a little bit now. I have no idea when you'll see me again. I have no idea which book it will be. Like I have ideas, but I'm unsure which books I'm gonna get, which books I have one more book for this video I know I want to have in the video that I will have to buy once it comes out later in the month. And if I don't end up including anything else, I will see you guys once that comes out. And yeah, I don't have that much more else to say. I didn't plan out this video completely, except for the fact that I knew a lot of new releases was happening in April. I knew I had some of them that I wanted to read no matter what. And I have maybe one extra I might include before the final one. But you guys will know if you just keep watching. For now, I'm going to leave you guys. I'm going to film a quick little other vlog, and then I will see you all back here once I have another new release to read. Alright, good morning, or I think it's the middle of the day, whatever. I went to see Billie Eilish yesterday, which was the greatest, if not one of the greatest experience of my life. I am in fact here 20 days later, I think, and we're officially ready to start the last book of this video. And I'm very excited for it. So, let's just get reading. Alright, it's the next day. Yesterday I filmed some clips, but I don't think I'm gonna include them other than like me reading because it's kind of like a big different yap fest. The only thing I yapped about yesterday was I'd heard a lot of mixed things about this book, and therefore I was very reluctant to start it, unfortunately. Like I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until I think like last night or something. I finally said I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna read. And then this morning I also said I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna read. But this morning it wasn't like a now you need to do this. This morning it was like a oh I really, really wanna do this. So I knew I wanted to update once I was 100 pages in, and I am now. I am on page 105. I couldn't stop, so I needed to read a couple more pages. If you know, you know. And I don't get where anybody's coming from telling me this was bad or boring or is bad or boring. As you can see, this is how far into the book I am, so still have quite a chunk left, but I feel like 100 pages into a book is normally where I like make my continue or DNF decision. That's also a lie. I can DNF a book 5% into it and I can DNF a book 80% into it, but I feel like 100 pages is like the place where I would normally say, okay, you've now read 100 pages and you know it isn't for you, you get to DNF it. And I was so scared this was going to be a DNF from the stuff I've heard. And then after I started it, both yesterday and today, I watched other people read it and love it. I watched Haley read it and she loved it. And this morning I saw Destiny Sidwell's video where she read it and loved it. And honestly, that kind of just confirmed to me that I should definitely just give this a try. And, well, like I said, as you can probably tell from the smile on my face, I am really enjoying it. It is giving 5-star feelings. A lot of people were talking about the romance and they were like, it's such a small plot. I don't really, like, don't go into it expecting romance. I'm sorry, 100 pages in, I feel like I've gotten plenty of romance. The banter is giving Emily Henry in the best way possible. Of course, it's giving Emily Henry. It's literally Emily Henry, but I feel like I was scared it wasn't going to give that. And while so far the subplot, or the thing I guess people think is the boring part, hasn't been boring, it hasn't really taken up a lot of the book yet. I am about to make it into another chapter and about all that, but in my brain, it seems like it would be really exciting to read about. Now, I don't know. For all I know, I could change my mind during the next couple of chapters, but on page 100, I'm really enjoying it. And I don't think I ever said what this is about. This is about Alice and Hayden. They are both authors. It is mainly about Alice because Emily Henry always writes in like not dual POV, so only the woman's POV, which is also why I feel like most people, like, I'm like, why did you go into this expecting it to be a romance when Emily Henry always writes women's fiction with a romance subplot? But Alice and Hayden are both writers. Alice is a little bit of a smaller writer, or like, I guess they're not a writer. They're why can I not think of the English word for this right now? They're both journalists. They're both journalists. And they both get the chance to write the, I was about to say memoir, the biography of this woman, Margaret Ives, who is like, you don't really know that much about her yet, other than the fact that her family was this really big thing, and she was kind of like really, like, everybody adored her, and then a bunch of stuff happened, and now she's been like missing for 20 years, and they end up finding her, and she calls them because she wants them to write a book, and she's giving them a month to give it their best shot, and then at the end of the month she will pick who needs to write her entire book. And so they're kind of rivals, but there's, out of page 100, there is some tension going on, and that is what Emily Henry does the best. The banter and tension, like, I'm already feeling for the couple in this. So that's kind of what it is right now, which means that the boring parts, according to most people, is like the woman's stories, which is a few chapters every once in a while. It's like what our female main character is writing, at least. So they get to like interview her on specific days. So then she gets to interview her, and then he gets to, and then they write each like 2 different books that she then has to choose from. I don't know if that was clear or anything. But honestly, rich people drama, I live for it. So I'm very excited to continue reading this. That's my update for now. That was a long, yappy update, but I'm really enjoying it. it is officially time to finish this off. I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible because there are someone working outside, which means it's loud. So I have to close the window and it's gonna get really hot. But to start off, I finished Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and I was so excited for what I was gonna rate this. Because, like I said, I'd heard so many bad reviews. I absolutely loved it. This was another 5-star read, but I actually have something more to say about that afterwards. With this, I loved every single thing. 100%. The characters, I liked all the different plots we had going on equally. I felt a lot for the romance. I don't know why people said there weren't any romance. There was plenty of romance, and it was great romance. And I think the subplot that other people found really boring, I just found so interesting. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's, like I said, there's not much, or there's actually nothing right now that I can think of where I didn't like this. So, I enjoyed both the characters. I didn't find them annoying in any sort of way. Like I said, I didn't find the plot boring. I found the plot very interesting. The ending had me kind of gagged. The ending had me crying and then gasping in surprise right after one another. So, all in all, this is my new favorite Emily Henry. And I know it's like 20% of people agree with me, and then a bunch of other people would probably put me on a stake or something for saying it, but it is in fact my new favorite. So, the only other update I have is that I did decide to push this down a little bit just to a 4.75. Just because reading the Emily Henry book made me realize how little I actually felt for the love story in this. Like, I loved the characters and I wanted them to be happy, but they could just as well have been happy apart for my sake. And like, I was glad that they ended up together, but it wouldn't have ruined the book for me if they didn't, because I didn't feel that much. Whenever they were together, I didn't feel that much for them. So, I think we do have a clear winner of this entire video, though, and that is definitely Sunrise on the Reaping. So I've definitely rated them Sunrise on the Reaping, Great Big Beautiful Life, and then Say You'll Remember Me. But honestly, all of these were so amazing. Like, I was not let down by a single one of them. And I love when that happens. That's a good thing about new releases of like your favorite authors, is you can either be really disappointed or you can be extremely happy, and I am extremely happy with all of these books. So, that was in fact all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you get notified every single time I post a video. And comment down below if you've read any of these new releases and what you thought of them, or if you're planning on reading any of them. And I will see you all in the next one.